How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to City Skylines, and welcome back to the city of Nerdholm. If you're watching this video as it goes out, then you might be aware, and I might not need to tell you, but I'm going to anyway, that it's been a little bit since the last episode, and I know that historically with this channel, when a City Skylines series is left for a few months, it usually doesn't come back. But Nerdholm is something a little bit special, and it's something a little bit special because it might very well end up being the last full series on City Skylines on this channel. Because of course, as I'm sure again I don't need to tell you, City Skylines 2 has been confirmed, and apparently it's coming this year. Now, I've already talked about City Skylines 2 about as much as I possibly can, and I wanted to apologize because a few people felt like I was trying to brag in my trailer first look thing. That wasn't what I was trying to do, and I'm sorry if it came across that way. I'm just really excited about it. I'm really glad I can finally talk about it. And just to answer some questions, I don't know when it's coming out. I don't really know all of the features that are going to be in the game. I'm excited to find out over the next few months alongside all of you. I'm excited to find out when it's actually going to come out. Thus far, all we know is 2023, and that's why this might be my last City Skylines series, because we're nowhere near done with Nerdholm, at least not yet. But enough about all that. Enough about the distant future. What's coming up today? Well, today, I actually want to come back to the Nerdholm Institute, our campus area, and I want to develop it a little bit further because the university has gotten up to, at one stage or another, 3 stars, which means that there's some buildings that we can place that we haven't yet placed. So, let's get to work, let's take a look, let's see what we've got, and let's see what we can play with today. Now, the reason I say that the Nerdholm Institute has gotten up to 3 stars at one stage or another is because it's actually due to downgrade at the end of this academic year if we don't get more students, which is something that I'd like to do. I do want to get the population of Nerdholm to grow across the board because our next unlock is the Metropolis level, which gives us another tile, but also, well, it gives us airports, and that's something that I'm very excited about. I do want to get an airport into Nerdholm so that I can go ahead and connect up my trains and just, I don't know, I think it'll be another time to focus on public transport, and I'm really enjoying focusing on public transport. So, for the time being, we'll focus on the Institute, and having a look at it, we actually do have the School of Medicine, which I think is going to be a really cool addition. It is quite expensive, $150,000 up front, $2,400 per week. We can afford both of those, but it is definitely expensive. The benefit, of course, being that it gives us another student capacity of an extra 1,000. So what I want to do with this is actually go ahead and place it right about, say, there, because I think it's going to nicely sort of line this road. It is kind of a, I don't want to say it's a modern looking building. It's very, well, actually, it sort of looks like, it kind of looks like a college I went to once upon a time. At least this tower in the corner sort of does. It's very, I want to say 70s. I don't really know architecture, to be honest, but it does give me like 70s, kind of 80s vibes. It doesn't look like a modern building, but it's certainly not necessarily as old as, say, this building might be. Anyway, I like it here. I think that's a pretty good spot for it. It kind of gives us something just set, you know, behind this tree line, and that's about the only space it could have gone. Well, there or right next to the School of Law, but I sort of want this space for something else. In fact, we'll deal with this space right now because what I think could go in here is this guy, the University Commencement Office. And the University Commencement Office is an impressive building that provides a great venue for graduations. In addition of increasing campus area attractiveness, the commencement building is required to hold a visible graduation ceremony. This building must be placed within a university campus area. So what I'm thinking for this is it could go right about here. So you have this park right opposite the commencement area. So you can have your graduation and then you can go over to the park space and sort of relax and hang out and all that stuff. And it looks well, I think it looks pretty decent. I'm going to have to move it just to lower it a little bit so it doesn't, have this weird sort of incline, which is, yeah, it's definitely not what we're looking for. Let's go ahead and actually just get this thing lowered to, let's say right about there. And I'm hoping, there we go. So that's much better. We can go ahead and put some trees around it, smooth out all this area in just a little bit. We don't have anything to worry about on the path there, which is fantastic. And I think that's pretty good. I do think that's a pretty good space for it. We have all these trees sort of tying it all together. Obviously, we need to smooth this bit out as well. We can probably put a path behind the School of Medicine, but that's not bad. We can also do some park space sort of down here, which I think will look great. And in terms of other buildings, we do have the math club, and we do have this, which is a university library. Now, the library is a great place for teaching and for up-to-date information from various scientific studies. Libraries increase land value, campus attractiveness, and boosts campus area student capacity. The building needs to be placed within the university campus area. It's going to give us space for an extra 100 students. And I was kind of thinking of over here for the library. I think it would look pretty cool in this corner, sort of set back from the main building. And it's going to give us something kind of elegant and interesting to look at right next to, well, the clock tower, but also these buildings, which are all historical because they match together, but they're relatively, I don't want to say uninspired, because I'm pretty sure they come from one of the content creator packs or something like that. They're not uninspired. They do exactly what they're supposed to do, but they are relatively flat, is what we'll call them. They're relatively flat. So something a bit more elegant and interesting next to these guys and the clock tower might be a pretty good idea. But I think what we could actually do here is go ahead and just set this back from the road a little bit. It's not going to be right up against it, but it's going to be, on its own little section of path. We can, of course, go ahead and have some connections like this as well so that you can get to the library from this road. I think this just makes things a little bit more interesting. I am going to have to play around with the paths over here as well, though, just to stop the weird sort of jump up that we have going on there. And I think we will go ahead and just move all of these little path sections right up against that wall there. And of course, I'm going to have to chop out sections of the wall, but we'll get to that in just a second. Once I get this guy moved up right to about there. And then what we can do is just use any fence to go ahead and put a little node section in there. We can get ourselves a little node section here. We'll chop those out, and that should give us a little section of that wall that we can hopefully go ahead and grab. I might have to use move it to do this. I want to grab segments, and I want to only be grabbing some fences. So in theory, just like that, I can hit delete. And then if I go and grab nodes, hopefully I can grab this one and just ever so slightly move it down to about there. This one can be moved right up to about there. And that looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. It's good enough for me. So let's go ahead and do exactly the same thing down here with a couple of these segments. We can go ahead and just chop all of those and then take out the extra bits of fence. And all I need to do is go in and grab that segment, hit delete, and we'll grab some nodes and just shift it over. And then looking at these nodes over here, it seems that Node Controller has had an update because freeform nodes did not exist the last time I played with this. So this is very interesting to me, and it's very, very cool looking. It means, I guess, that my nodes can be more, well, freeform than they've ever been before. And it is pretty cool. It's definitely pretty cool. I'm not really too sure what's going on with this guy. It seems like there's some definitely some weirdness going on. I can change the elevation though, which is very cool. I don't think I could do that before either. So that's pretty neat. I would just like to sort of push these right together. And oh, I don't know how I feel about that suddenly. That's not quite what I'm looking for. I might have to just use move it to go ahead and grab those two and set them to the same height. Oh no, what have I done? Oh, what have I done? Okay, you know what? Let's just very quickly fix this. I've ever so slightly screwed it up. There we go. That's not too bad. And I think maybe we just grab that node and just stretch it out a little bit. So hold on, that's rotation. I don't want to rotate it. Wait a minute. How do I? Oh God. Oh, that's just the. Oh no. What What have I done? All right, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. It's freeform. It's good. We're fine. This guy, what if I set you to freeform? What does that do? Absolutely nothing. Okay, that's all right. I'm not going to sit here and play around with this mod. I will sit here forever and do that. Let's go ahead and get a building in here. We want the library, and it's slightly tempting to put it at a bit of an angle, but I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and have it face... Oh, I'm going to have it face the clock tower. I think that's going to be more interesting looking. So put it right about there. And yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Although I think I'm going to have to change some of the terrain, aren't I? Okay, so we want to grab some buildings. We want to grab some nodes, and we want to be grabbing the paths and, well, I guess the buildings. So grab the building, grab the node, and grab that node, and grab that node. And what I want to do is lower them to this height. And that didn't really screw too much up, which is beautiful. That's exactly what I was wanting. I didn't want to screw anything up. So let's grab those nodes. Let's go ahead and just slope those objects a little bit. And let's grab you. And, well, I guess we're not grabbing anything there. We're good. Okay, so that's a good spot. I think that's absolutely perfect for the library. I do want to detail around this, and I might put a path going around the back of it as well, just so it's kind of interesting. But I do want to see what our capacity happens to be now. So students 648. That's kind of miserable. I don't necessarily love that. Can I see like a general? Oh, there we go. Capacity 4,650. Wow. Oh man, this place will be losing so much money not having enough students. And so, just like that, the Nerdholm Institute has been expanded just a little bit. We, of course, have a new library. We have the School of Medicine. We have the Commencement Office as well. And between all of those, and around all of those as well, we have a bunch of trees, which is pretty much what I'm going to be using to detail a lot of this space. Because what I'm realizing is that I think it's going to be interesting to have these sort of buildings just surrounded by nature. I think it's kind of cool because, especially when you take into account the fact that the School of Medicine is a little bit, it's not necessarily brutalist in its architecture, but it definitely doesn't sort of take the surrounding landscape into account in its design. It's basically, I'm juxtaposing one thing off of another. I'm playing off of contrast. I was trying to not say it. I was trying to get through an episode of this series without mentioning the contrast between the architecture and the nature, because it sounds super pretentious, but that's what I'm trying to do here. And honestly, I mean, when you take into account the fact that the rest of the city is pretty well built up, it's going to be nice to have sort of an extension of Oak Garden be the institute itself. Now, something I would like to do is try and get a little bit of water into this space. And I was, for some reason, thinking, oh, how would I do that? How would that work? And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, I've just not been playing this game for 3 months, so there is a way to do it, which is relatively simple. And I'm thinking I'm going to try and get some water into this space. So I'm going to go in with the landscaping tools. I'm going to get the shift terrain tool, and I want to get a relatively small brush. I think about 20 is perfect. And we want it to be pretty weak as well, so about 0.1 should be good enough. And if I just right click a couple of times, it's going to just push the terrain down to about there. We do have some metro lines underneath here that we have to worry about as well, but I think that's okay. And if I just use the, what is this, the level terrain tool, I can sort of just push the terrain around a little bit. We could probably go stronger as well, just to really push this around. And that's going to give us just a little bit of space. We could probably go even stronger than this. That's going to give us just a little bit of space where we can build some kind of pond or water feature or whatever, really. I do have to take into account the fact that it is a little bit steeper on this side versus this one. There is a bit of an incline there. So I'm wondering if I can, I think I can get away with pushing this right up against the paths, which might make this that little bit more interesting, especially if I bring it down through here, which it does look like I can do as well. So we can turn that entire section into a bit of a water feature, which might be a little bit weird, but honestly, I'm kind of here for it. I'm kind of wondering, can I push it up to here as well? I absolutely can. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for a water feature. Now, I'm not 100% sure if it's going to work, but obviously we can go into one of these tools. I think it's this one here, the water tool. We can get ourselves a water source. And if I just bring the capacity way, way down, we've got this. And then what we want to do is just click and hold on this water source and just bring it down until it's only filling that little space, which it looks like it can do. It might give us a bit of trouble, but I'm willing to give that a shot. So if I let the game run, we should see, and we do see, a little bit of water filling up here. Now it's going to overflow, I think, at some point. There's a chance it'll do it. Maybe not. Wow, is that actually going to just... Okay, I wasn't expecting that. I thought it would flow through here, but I guess it's not actually got enough water. This incline might actually give us some trouble here, but I'm going to give this a shot. We're going to place another one, and we're going to bring it right down to... Oh man, I might regret this, but I'm going to try about there. And I want to see what that does. So that should... Yep, it fills up pretty quickly. Is that going to cause this to overflow? I'm thinking it's not going to, because I think what's actually going on here is this little gap is so thin that while it kind of looks like the water flows into each other, I don't think any water is actually flowing through here. So I think having the two separate water sources is actually helping this to sort of not overflow and look like one thing when it's actually separated by, you know, a very thin gap there. So that's kind of cool. It means I could probably bring this one up a little bit higher and just have this look a little bit fuller, which I guess it's not really wanting to do. But either way, it's a little bit of a water source. It's something a little bit different, and I don't completely hate that, although I do think we need to get some good details in here. And I think maybe it might be worth just sort of smoothing one of these corners a little bit. Maybe just here to give us a little bit of a rounder sort of corner there, just so this thing isn't sort of perfectly outlined by the path. So it's a little bit more natural looking. And I'm thinking over here, we can kind of do the same thing as well. Just so, again, we don't have something that's essentially just a perfectly sort of square pond and a little square pond down here as well. So just a little bit of that around some of these edges, just to make it a little bit more natural looking. And I think that's okay. I think that kind of works. So what we can do, I guess, in terms of detailing this is go in with a bunch of trees and a bunch of bushes and just foliage in general and see what we can do. We do have some good vegetation that I think will look pretty good around this. We have some rocks that I think will look pretty good around the edges as well. So let's see what we can play with. I think these tall grass clusters are going to be a pretty good start for sort of right down sort of at the edge of the water. I don't want to do too many of these, but I just want a little something, because maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a class at the, maybe, you know, the biology classes at the university have stocked this pond with, I don't know, frogs or fish or something. That sounds like something more that like a high school or an elementary school would do, rather. I don't know if a university would have like, hey, come on and let's go down to the pond and stock it with fish and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, what better way to sort of study fish, right? You know, give them a pond, amphibians and stuff like that. You know what? Give them a habitat that they can kind of grow and develop in, and just study their growth, I guess, rather than having them in a tank. I don't know. I don't know if a university would do this, but we'll say that this one does. The Nerdholm Institute absolutely does. Go ahead and stock their pond with fish and frogs and stuff like that. You'd probably get birds coming down here as well. You'd probably have, you know, where's the nearest neighborhood actually? There isn't really a neighborhood anywhere near this. So I was going to say you might have cats coming down here, like domestic cats, but I think the nearest place that people live is over here in Campus Park. So maybe, I mean, maybe people have cats and let them out, and the cats would come over here and like sit by the water and try and get the fish as well. And you'd have like the groundskeeper coming out. Where's the groundskeeper around here? We do have a groundskeeper, is that right? That's the futsal one. Do we not have a ground? Oh, is this the groundskeeper? Yeah, there we go. You'd have the groundskeeper coming over and trying to chase the cats off to stop them from catching the fish and stuff like that. I think it'd be great, honestly. And I think what I'm probably going to do is put a couple of benches around this, because I think sitting by this and like doing a bit of reading or studying or something like that would be great. I don't know about you, but there was the very rare day when I was in school that you would, for some reason, the teacher would be like, hey, we're having class outside today. And those were like the best days when it was like, man, we were going to sit in, like, it's a really warm day and the classroom's just miserable. And it was like, yeah, this is great. We're having class outside. Or it was like, I remember one day there was like the air conditioning or something, like the heating in the school wasn't working. So like the air conditioning was gone, but also the radiators weren't working. So they couldn't heat it up or cool it down. And it was like a boiling hot day. And I remember, you know, when you're a kid and you think you know everything and you think you have a better understanding of like school policy than you do. I remember very keenly, me and a group of friends were like, well, if they can't heat this, it's actually like illegal. They can't keep us here because it's too warm for us to be indoors all day, and they will have to send us home. Like, we were looking for an excuse to get sent home. And it was like colder outside than it was inside because there was a breeze. And so we basically had our entire school day outside in like the shade because there was a tree line that we could go and sit under. And I remember it was the first time I've ever had a moment where I was both thrilled and also slightly annoyed, because I'd convinced myself, me and my group of friends had convinced ourselves that we were going to get sent home, and we didn't, so we were annoyed. But we had class outside all day, so we were like, oh, this is pretty cool, actually. So it was definitely it was a moment where I wasn't quite sure how to feel. And it's one of the first times I can remember having that feeling of being like, I'll go outside and I'll have fun, but I won't enjoy it. It was kind of that. Also, I think these little trees just popping up out of here, I think they really bring it together. I really like how this looks. It's pretty cool. I don't love this corner though. I might smooth this out because this corner, oh yeah, we'll put a tree over there. This corner's slightly bugging me, so I want to just make it slightly smoother. Just a little bit like that. So it's a little bit, yeah, that looks better. That looks a lot better. Okay, yeah, that's much better. Let's get some larger trees in here as well, just to start really bringing this together. So go for like a couple of these big fellas right on that corner. I think we could maybe save, well, actually one big tree in that corner looks pretty good. Yeah, I like that a lot. And we'll go for one big tree up in that corner as well. That looks pretty solid. You know what I'm thinking I might do? And this might be weird, but I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to see if I can put just a little sort of island in the middle of this. I don't know if this is going to work, but I kind of want like just a little bit of land right in the middle there. And then if I just hit this with a smoothing brush or maybe a slightly smaller flattening brush, just to bring it down a little bit so that we have a little bit less land poking up out of the water. So something kind of like that. I think that's pretty great. And then what I can do right in the middle of that island is go ahead and put one of these guys. One of those guys right about there. In fact, maybe just a couple of them so it looks like a bigger, sort of very colorful tree. I think that's a bit much actually. That one needs to go. The rest of them are fine. I think that looks pretty cool. I like that a lot. And then I can put more detailing around the edges of it and it's gonna look great. You know, speaking of being confidently incorrect when it came to school, I remember other instances where it was like, oh, if the teacher doesn't show up, if the bell rings at like 8:30 in the morning and the teacher isn't there by 9, you're legally allowed to go home. And that was always one of the fun ones because the teacher would be like 5 minutes late to class and everyone's looking around like, oh, we get to go home if they're not here in 25 minutes. And then the teacher shows up 30 seconds later and you're like, oh. I don't know where that belief comes from. I feel like that's just one of those like urban legends that you believe in school. But then there's other moments. I remember when I went to college, and when you're in college, the teachers generally don't care, especially if it's like a community college type thing, which mine basically was. I did incredibly well in school until I got to like 15, 16, and I just discovered, I didn't discover video games. Video games kind of discovered me, and I I got really into playing Halo, basically, is kind of what happened. And so my grades kind of slipped, and instead of staying on at high school until I was 18, I left school at 16 and went and signed up to a college, is kind of how it worked. And when you get to college, it's interesting, because this was my first experience going to a school, essentially, where there wasn't a uniform, and that was cool. So my emo tendencies at the time kind of really shone through with lots of hoodies and band t-shirts and long black hair. And I had long black hair in high school as well, and a lot of the faculty hated me for it, but it's regardless. Some of them really liked it. Some of them really hated it. Regardless, that's when you discover that your education is very much your education, and what you get out of it is entirely up to you. And so I remember there were moments when the teachers, or the lecturers as they were called at that point rather than the teachers, didn't show up. There were some classes where they just didn't, for whatever reason, just didn't show up. And for whatever reason, you get to that point and you're like, you know what, I'm staying. Teacher didn't show up, and all of us just stayed. And then there were other instances where we were the reason that the teacher didn't show up. There was one in particular, I remember this, and these are stories I don't know if I've ever told on this channel. If you've been around for a while, you might remember that City Skylines videos get very podcasty sometimes, and I don't know how many stories I've actually told from when I was in college. A lot of stories have been about my travels as a result of things that I do on this channel, or stories about my grandparents, which I'm sure there's plenty more of those I could probably tell, but I don't know if I've ever told this one. At least I don't remember. I remember very keenly, there was one teacher we had who taught a variety of classes, and he would never take no for an answer, in the sense that he would never take you saying that you don't know something for an answer. And he did this, I knew that he did this to try and be encouraging, to try and be like, no, you do know the answer, just think through what you've been taught. But instead of saying that, he would just say, you do, you bluffer. So you would basically be called a liar if you told him you didn't know the answer to something. Now, this same teacher he was an older gentleman, is what we'll say. He was teaching a lot about IT and computers and things like that, and I keenly remember it many times just seeing him for some reason walking around the college, clutching in one hand a pretty high-end looking gaming PC, and we could never to this day figure out why he was doing this, but he was. There was one day, though, that we printed out a picture of a cat. Now, we were known for putting certain desktop backgrounds on the PCs that we shouldn't have put on the PCs. We were also known for loading up certain websites that we shouldn't be loading up in college. And so we decided for some reason to print out a picture of a cat. And just a cat, harmless picture of a cat. And we stuck it to the monitor of one of the PCs. And I vividly remember this particular lecturer walking up to the PC, looking at it, and I remember going like, oh, he's looking at it because he's realized it's a piece of paper, and he's wondering why, which was often the response that we got from the things that we did. It wasn't you're in trouble, it was why. And he went to move the mouse, and I just about died laughing because he didn't realize it was a bit of paper, and to me that was the funniest thing in the world. But what was particularly funnier was there was another lecturer we had, who hated us. And when I say hated us, I mean really disliked our class. And so we knew that, and one day, before he arrived to class, we decided to unplug the monitor from his PC. And so he comes in and he switches the PC on, and you can hear the fans whirring up. It was an old, this was 2011 perhaps, and this was already a PC that was probably about 10 years old. So you could hear the fans from down the hall, and he boots it up and the monitor doesn't come on, because obviously we've unplugged it. And we think, oh, he's just going to plug it back in and we'll get on with class. But no, he starts moving the mouse to try and wake up the PC because he thought it kind of went into sleep or something like that. And the PC doesn't wake up. At least the monitor doesn't come on. Now, I want to remind you, I'm doing a computer studies course at this time. So you would expect that your lecturer teaching you about computers and computer studies would know to like check the cables just to make sure that, you know, they hadn't been messed around with. But no, he moved the mouse and the computer didn't wake up. The screen didn't come on. And you could see that he was kind of agitated by this. He had some choice words. That should probably mention as well, in college, no one really cares if you swear, and no one really cares if the lecturer swears either. So he had some choice words towards the PC, and he turned to the class and said, "I'll be back in 5 minutes. I'm going to go get a technician." And you could see on everyone's face around the classroom, everyone was trying to hold a straight face. No one wanted to be the one that cracked up laughing because we knew why the PC wasn't waking up. The screen was unplugged. It was simple. It was just plug the monitor back in, but it was, oh, ha, ha, ha. He's going to go get a technician. It'll be funny. The technician will probably call us a bunch of whatever, and we'll get on with class. So he left the room and went to get a technician, except he never came back. And we didn't quite realize, because we had some stuff. It was towards the end of the year, so we had some assignments that we all kind of had to get done, and we were working on anyway, because despite being a bunch of nuisances, to put it nicely, we did, for the most part, also get some work done when we had to. And so we were all kind of working on stuff, and then one of us looks at the clock and goes, hold on a minute, he's been gone for 30 minutes. And this was like a 2-hour class that we were, you know, supposed to have here. And it was, he's been gone for 30 minutes. And we kind of go, oh, we've really annoyed him. And this is the point where you might think, well, you know, someone got up to go get him or apologize. Nope. We just left it, and another 30 minutes goes by and he's gone for an hour. And a couple of people then got up to leave, much like you'd learned in primary school. If he's not there, you can leave. And it wasn't a legal thing. It was just that no one cares if you leave early. So a couple of people got up to leave, and another 30 minutes goes by. And some of the guys that stayed, one of their phones rang. And again, it's college, we're all adults, no one really cares if you're going to take a phone call. You are missing out on class if you do, so it's entirely up to you. And so he answers the phone, and it's one of the guys that's left. And he starts laughing, and he hangs up the phone, and he yells to everyone in class, "You will not believe where the lecturer is." The lecturer was in a park nearby, busking, playing guitar, and singing. That's what he had decided to do, rather than put up with our class on that particular day. And to be honest, I have a lot of respect for that. That level of, you know, I'm not dealing with these people today is kind of admirable. And I wasn't even mad about it. And because, like, we all knew he played guitar. We'd seen him sitting in the park playing before. So the fact that he had just decided to choose peace that day, he decided that he wasn't going to choose violence, was kind of amazing. That was, yeah, that was a highlight of that particular college. I went to college twice, actually. I went to college once for computer studies, and then I hated that. And I went again to a different college to study TV and film production, which I've talked about here and there before. So I'll not bother going into another story about that particular college course, because I have many from that. But yeah, that's I think that's about the most on topic one of my stories has ever been, considering we're working on oh, that looks really good, actually. Man, that turned out really well. I'm actually really pleased with this. Oh, that looks kind of lovely. I really like this. It's a really nice, it's like totally overgrown, but it's kind of like it's totally me as well. All of my natural little features like this are always overgrown. I love that. I love how that's turned out. Oh, I'm so pleased. So now that this pond is done, I think what I'm going to do is move away from the Nerdholm Institute for just a little bit. It has dropped back down to 2 stars. It needs more students to get back up to 2 stars, and we're not going to unlock anything until we get to 4 stars. So I don't necessarily want to go and fill in all of the space that we have left because there are other things that we're going to want to build in those spaces eventually. So we're going to leave this thing in another sort of unfinished state, but this is a good little bit of development on the Institute, and I'm really pleased with where we've got to. Now, I will say, I don't want to start another super detailed project this late in the video because this video's, it's not going to be as long as some of the previous episodes of this series because it has been a little bit. I want to just sort of ease back into it, ease all of us back into some city skylines. And so what I want to do is I want to come over to this space and basically I want to get a brush and I want to go ahead and just take out all of these trees because I want to, and I realize I've just taken out all the trees that I lined this space with, which is kind of annoying, but regardless, I've just done it, so it's whatever. I want to build some stuff in here. Specifically, I kind of just want to go ahead and build some residential space. Now, I do want to get rid of all these props because I don't want those, but I want to get some residential space in here. I want to get some houses. I want to get some people. And the reason I want to do that is because the population does need to grow. Now, I will say we are in the middle of a bit of a death wave. It's not a major one. I'd say it's not a major one. It's affecting just about every part of the city, and the population has dropped by a couple of thousand since I started recording today. So you know what? It's a death wave. It's city skylines. We know these things happen. So zoning some residential in here, it's not going to do too great for us, but I want to do it anyway because I want to get some residential space into here. I want to get more people into the city. So what we'll do for now is we'll go ahead and grab this 4-lane road and I'm going to say disable zoning, and I'm going to just upgrade this one to have no zoning because I don't want any there. And I'm going to do the same with this 6-lane road just over here. I don't want zoning anywhere along this guy up to about there, and also sort of including there, but I'm not going to do that because it's going to mess with the intersection, I think. So we'll just leave that be. We can sort of do the same thing here as well, which that just messed with the zoning as well. Okay, hold on a second. I just need to remember where the buttons are. I'm going to need Traffic Manager President Edition, and I'm going to need to say that you can go there, you can go there, and you can only go there. And then you guys are straight on and straight on. There we go. All right, so that's all sorted. And that's just going to give us a nice space to build something that's essentially going to be similar to Franklin Hills or Amity Park. It's an area that's got some detailing with the trees, and it's got some detailing around the edges. It's got some paths and stuff like that, but it's nothing crazy. It's nothing that's going to be as detailed as, say, I don't know, the waste processing plant or any of the lakeside districts. It's not going to be another lakeside is what I'm getting at. So let's go ahead, I suppose, and figure out what it's actually going to be. So I think what I'm going to do is use these 2-lane roads with grass, and I'm going to force zoning. We're going to use some straight roads. We're going to turn on some road guidelines, and I'm going to do something a bit like this. We're going to have it go kind of nicely along the keys right there that are, of course, lining the train tracks, and we'll go like this as well. And then what I can do is I can sort of have this hug that entire line, which I think might look pretty good. So we'll go ahead and do this. So we have that road sort of hugging that line. And if I wanted to, I could actually get away with doing that the entire way around here, which I don't hate that. I'm not necessarily thinking I'm going to connect it to the roundabout, but we'll give that a shot. And honestly, that's okay. Now, what I'm also thinking I want to do is I want to get some parking lot roads in here. So I want to go ahead and search for parking. I don't remember what category the parking lot roads are in, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab, that's the service road. It's this one I want. Wait, no, is it the 22? It might be the 22 meter one. I'm not really too sure. What I'm looking for is this, right? I want to put some parking in there, and I want it to kind of look interesting because I think it'd be kind of cool to have some parking, you know, sort of at the ends of this road, or at the ends of these roads. So something kind of like that, really. I do need to disable zoning on those roads though, and I'm going to have to sort of shuffle those around a little bit. But I think that's going to look pretty good, and especially considering we're not going to have parking on the actual roads here with the grass lining them, I think that's probably for the best. So what we can do is we can just go ahead and say, give me some parking right there. and I also need to grab the roads here. So I want the props and I want the nodes. I think these are technically buildings, so I kind of just want to grab all of this, and I just want to level it to that height. I'm not too sure how well that's necessarily going to work though, which is kind of what's concerning me, but I might, I don't know if it's actually going to work too well at all, just sort of looking at it. What if I just sort of raise this up? If I lower this down? Oh yeah, no, those parking spots are going to be kind of weird. Maybe we don't do one at the end here, and we do one here instead. Hopefully these kind of, yeah, they fit much better. So we'll just go ahead and do this, and then we'll put some sort of single parking spots just right there. And that'll give us a little bit of parking. That'll give us a break in this as well, between what's essentially going to be a bunch of buildings next to each other and a bunch of standalone buildings. So that's perfectly fine. And honestly, it's kind of making me think that this could also sort of be a parking space. That might be kind of interesting. But first, I want to make sure that we have a line of buildings with their backs facing this highway. So I want to get a road, and I also want to get a path going along these buildings. So what we can do is we can go to about here, actually right about there. We'll bring a road over until it lines up with that node. I've just disabled zoning on all of that, which is not what I wanted to do. So go ahead and just put all of that back in there. And that's going to give us this space. It's going to give us room for a path and also some trees, which is absolutely perfect. And I think what I might do is I might just bring this road right over until about there. And that does not work nicely at all. Let me just do that again. So right to about there. And that'll still give me room for the path, but it is going to have to come down and connect to the road at some point, which is totally fine. Now, what we can also do is, I guess, just we can bring another one over, or I can bring a bunch of roads off of this, which might be a little bit more interesting, especially if I use roads that people can park on, because they're going to need to be able to park somewhere, and I'm not going to do parking lot roads everywhere, so I think something like this kind of works. And if I bring this over one more, I can actually just bring this road right down and connect it there if I want to, which, to be completely honest, I'm not against doing that. I think that's a pretty fair connection, so I think that's what we'll do. And then for the rest of this, I mean, I could bring a road over like this, I could bring a road over like this, which might be sort of interesting. It'd be a way to get around. We're going to have a connection down here as well, but I think that'd be kind of cool. And it's going to give me space for another path in there, which is kind of important. So let's give that a shot. I think that kind of works out. I don't love that the zoning's gotten kind of weird down here, but that's fixed. So let's get rid of the zoning on this road. And that's not bad. That's really not bad. I think get rid of the zoning here as well. And yeah, I don't mind that. We're probably going to do some mixed zoning in here. We'll probably do, you know, a bit of commercial, a little bit of commercial, a little bit of office, but mostly residential. I just need to figure out what this space is going to be. So while this district goes ahead and builds up, I'm kind of thinking about something we could do with the space that's just across the train tracks. Now, at the minute, it's just empty, of course, which, I mean, that's kind of the plan. It's supposed to be, but we've had the disaster response unit sitting around for a while. There was a truck just going through the ground there. I don't know if anyone else, I don't know if you just noticed that, but there was 100% a truck going, there it is. What are you doing? What? Ah, yes, the elusive. I'm not even gonna, I've got nothing. I got nothing. It's weird. This game, man, sometimes. Anyway, we've had this guy for a while, and it's been getting moved around. We've had this guy for a while. It's been sitting out here for a bit. I'm thinking we could put both of these into this space and have it look sort of interesting. So what I want to do is I want to measure back from here, and I need to go 23 units. So if I was to do a little something here, so if I was to go from this spot and I was to go 23 units that way, and then turn off grid snapping and sort of go like this, and sort of go like, what distance is that? That's 9, and then go sort of 9 that way. Can I then go ahead and do this and have it fit? I can. Now I could, if I wanted to, I could push it right up against the key there that I kind of like. And I also want to just sort of shuffle it back a little bit. So it's kind of right up against the highway, right up against the key. And then this road, to be honest, I just want to sort of shuffle it a little bit as well. So something like that, I think, is where that road needs to be. Now, whether or not that's going to play nice with everything else, I'm really not too sure, but I think this is a good spot for the disaster response building. It's sort of just tucked away, and that's kind of what I want it to be. And I kind of want to do that with things like the fire helicopter depot. I kind of want to do that with like police helicopters and medical helicopters as well, is sort of tuck them all into this space and almost make this its own little mini, I don't want to say airport, but that's kind of what I'm going for, is sort of making it into its own little mini base of operations for the government to have their helicopters and their disaster response stuff, right? So my thinking would be line this road with regular zoning, and then behind all of that, we go ahead and tuck away a bunch of government stuff. So the fire helicopter depot, for example, could theoretically go right there, and that's not the worst place in the world for it. The medical helicopter depot could theoretically go right about, I don't know why I'm using the word theoretically, it can go there. And then the police helicopter depot could theoretically go just about anywhere else as well. So that's kind of what I'm thinking we do, just to get these things in here. I might move these around if and when we go ahead and actually get, you know, some kind of airport, but I think this is kind of cool. I think this is kind of a cool way to do things. So we can, you know, bring a little road up there. We can maybe go ahead and put a little road, say here, for example. That does mess with zoning on that main road though, so maybe not quite there, but you know, if I go and let me just see if I can fix this. So disable zoning on all of this. In fact, let me just, you know, chop out that entire section of road and replace it. So just like that. And then what we can do is bring a little something, little section of road sort of just off of there. And I guess that's fine. It doesn't need to be perfect because this space is sort of going to be, this is going to be customized a little bit. I did mention that I wasn't going to go crazy customizing a lot of this, but this bit is going to be customized. We'll have a little, you know, nice little corner right there. I don't necessarily love that this is sort of right in front of the disaster response building. I feel like it should probably have a little bit more, it should have a little bit more prominence. And I feel like maybe moving these guys back from the key is also good, because these guys are going to have to listen to helicopters. Oh, that would be miserable, actually. This is a miserable place to put this, now that I think about it. This is a this is a really miserable place to put this. Oh dear, what am I doing? Oh no. Yeah, this is this would be rough. This would be really rough to live anywhere near, to be quite honest. I'm sort of here for it though. Let me move you to about there, and I think that still gives me enough space for some zoning off of that road. This is gonna have to sort of go like this for the time being, and then I need to go, oh man, this is we're gonna be cutting it close a little bit here, but I think I can get away with something like that. Yeah, that is cutting it close, but we can use node controller to just sort of stretch the bend a little bit so it's a bit smoother. And honestly, that's not too bad. I mean, yes, it's gonna be miserable for literally anyone working or living in this space, but I think we're just gonna have to deal with that. I think that's just the way it's gonna be. So let's go ahead and get some zoning on this road, which is something I really didn't think I'd be doing at any point, but I think it's gonna work really well to sort of mask the, oh man, if I bulldoze all this, it's gonna mess with the zoning so much. I really don't want to mess with the zoning that much. Hold on, I might be able to get away with this. Let's do this. Let's grab you. Let's go like this. And then it messes up on that corner, which is totally fine. It does mess up there as well. Hold on. I need to get the zoning perfectly here. I need that perfect zoning is what I need. So take you out. Let's grab this. We'll bring it down from, I want to say here. That looks okay. Yes, it's weird on that road, but that's all right because we're not zoning on it. That is fine. That's good. I mean, yes, it's a bit weird here, but that's honestly okay. Let's just get some zoning in here. We'll go for offices, I want to say, are probably about the only thing that would make sense to put in this space. So we'll do offices all the way across there. Not really sure why I'm putting them on the other side of the road, but we'll do it anyway. And then what we'll do is just bring some pipes sort of down into this space. And that is where all of that's going to go, I guess. I can probably also go and just control click a little bit to fix those. We can probably make this a give way sign because there's not going to be that much traffic coming and going. And if I really wanted to, I could probably go ahead and put things like, I don't know, whatever we've got in here. The general hospital could go in here, for example, or the plastic surgery center. I didn't even know I had that. We've got the crematorium memorial park. We've got the medical laboratory, which is a pretty cool looking building, and it is 1,280 per week. I mean, it has a patient capacity. It's a cool looking building. I feel like the space in front of the disaster response center or unit, whatever it is, should probably be a park, even though it would be a miserable park to sit in because it's going to be, you know, drowned in the sound of helicopters. And so just like that, we've managed to put together a little disaster response district. And honestly, I think that's probably what we're just going to call this. It's currently called Pearl Park, but honestly, disaster, how do you spell disaster? Disaster response district. That is disaster, right? Yeah, disaster response district is a pretty good name for it, to be honest. We have the actual disaster response unit. We have a bunch of helicopters ready to go. So that seems like a pretty good little space. We've got a park here, which, I mean, it's probably never really going to get used. No one's really going to be walking around there, but it looks the part, so I think that's fine. And it's a bit of a natural tree line to sort of maybe just, I don't know, muffle the sound of helicopters, maybe by a single decibel, because let me tell you, this would be a loud district is what this would be. What are you complaining about? Too few services. Really? 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 Too few services? Really? You're gonna, okay. I mean, you've got, there's a medical clinic over here. There's a firehouse there. There's a police station right there. Not to mention that you have, you know, medical helicopters, police helicopters, fire helicopters, but yeah, too few services. Okay, well, they can abandon if they want to. I'm not really going to stress too much about it. It's not the end of the world. The only thing I want to do very quickly before we wrap things up today is I want to go ahead and just get another line of trees that's going to run the entire length of the highway just along these buildings. So we'll go ahead and do this. We'll just bring this out a little bit. We'll bring these guys a little bit closer together so that they're kind of similar to the other side. Just shuffle down a little bit to there. And we'll do, I guess, this just the entire way up to about there and down to about there. And we can just sort of continue straight over to about there. And that seems pretty good. I like that a lot. I really like that as a line of trees just behind these buildings. I think it looks pretty cool. We can do similar in here, although to be completely honest, I think what we'll probably do is, well, on this side, we did do the concrete retaining wall. We should probably do the same thing over on this side as well. I've just noticed there's a lot of people walking over here, which is, I guess, kind of surprising. I guess it's also not surprising. A lot of people probably work over on this side of the city and then live over on this side of the city. So that sort of makes sense. I'll tell you what, let me go ahead and let me do, where's my concrete retaining wall? There it is. Let me go to network multi-tool. Let me go to parallel, and we want to do, how do I switch it to the other side? It's tab. So we want to do this up to about there, down to about there. And that seems decent. I mean, it's off a little bit because of the changes that have been made to some of these intersections, but that's okay. We can sort of just shuffle this around a little bit to there. We can go ahead and just grab that segment and sort of smooth it out a little bit, move you back ever so slightly. And let's see, do something like this. This could probably be pushed back as well. This is doing all right. We'll just bring this guy back, I think, to about there. This guy can be brought out a little bit to there. And then this one can be brought to, I'm going to say about there. And I think that's solid enough. I think that sort of does the job. Yeah, there's people sort of walking into the walls, but it's not really the end of the world. And I'm debating whether or not I want to bring this wall around the roundabout as well. I think I'm just going to do bushes. I think bushes will be a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and just line that wall with a bunch of these trees as well. So we want to go from about there. We'll do 2. We'll do another 2. We'll sort of come over like this. And we'll just come the entire way around so that this entire wall, that entire section of highway, is nicely lined in trees. And I think that looks pretty good. This bit as well, honestly, we can probably do the same thing. So we'll go like this. It's not a perfectly straight line on them, but that's all right. I'm not super worried about that. And then what we can do for the roundabout is something a bit like this. We'll just bring these nice and close together. And I'm just going to do this in sort of straight segments rather than trying to curve around this perfectly. It'll just be a little bit quicker, I think, to do it this way. And honestly, it's not going to be super noticeable that I'm using a bunch of straight segments to do this, so it's not the end of the world. There we go. I think that looks fine. I think that's pretty good. Then this little corner here can just be filled in as well. And then what I want to do really is similar to what I've done elsewhere. I'm just going to place a couple of these larger trees in, say, that spot. We'll do maybe a little cluster of them right about there. We'll do a little cluster of them right about here. And we'll go for maybe one right about there. And then around them, we'll just place a bunch of, what are these even called? Lantana, whatever they're called, bushes. We'll go ahead and place a bit of foliage around the base of these trees just to make it look like maybe some leaves have fallen. Maybe, I don't know, for whatever reason, there's just clusters of these leafy bushes underneath all of these trees. It just makes it look a little bit more detailed. It's a little bit less flat is what I'm going for. So something like that I think is fine. We'll go ahead and get a little bit of color just into some of those bushes to break it up a little bit, make it look kind of interesting from a bit of a distance. So something like that. We can go ahead and put some young lindens around here, which are fantastic looking trees. I absolutely love them. So just place a few of those around. We can do something in that corner in just a second as well. And I think, honestly, do I want to go ahead and place one of these guys in here? I don't actually think I do. I think I want to go ahead and put a young linden right there, though. I like this. I think this is one of those less is more situations. I think we don't really need to go too crazy with it. But what we can do up here is just outline this space. Something kind of like, let's see. We'll go like this. And we'll go like this. And I'm debating whether or not I want to just bring this around that corner. I think I will. Something kind of like that is pretty good. And then maybe in this corner, we do that. And I think that's about all it needs. Maybe just a little bit of sort of greenery here, a little bit of greenery there, maybe just a single young linden in that spot. I think that is right with one of these guys. I think that's pretty good. And I think that's it. I think that's about the amount of detailing we're going to do around the edge of this space. I want to fill this in eventually, but I'm not really in any rush to do that. I do want to fill in these spaces along this road, but that can wait. I'm just glad this space has built up and that we seem to be recovering slowly from that death wave. So all in all, not bad. I mean, the trains keep getting stuck for whatever reason, but that's not the end of the world. We have this space to figure out, which is totally fine. That's a project for another time, because honestly, I think that's going to do us for today. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. It has been an absolute pleasure as always. I'm so glad to be back with Nerdholm and building more things and expanding the city. So as always, if you have any suggestions, if you have anything you want to see me do with Nerdholm, do leave those suggestions in the comments below and I'll get around to them. We'll take a look at them and we'll see what we can do. If you have district name suggestions for Orchard Hills, of course, let me know that as well, because I do think we need to get around to renaming a bunch of districts. So we'll pick maybe a few and we'll go around and rename some places in Nerdholm in a future episode as well. Either way, thank you so much for watching. It has been an absolute pleasure as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Well, bye.